Good morning, Southern Illinois. You are listening to Isn't It Queer on WDBX FM 91.1, community radio serving the Southern Illinois region. This is Jonny, soon to be joined by Heather, and we are recording this show on a Tuesday afternoon before it goes out on a Wednesday morning. Well, this week we welcome Heather back from a very engaging, very exhausting participation in Gen Con up in Indianapolis. Sounds like a really good time, and we'll get a little bit more details from her about how that went. And then we turn to look at some of the really frustrating aspects of the ways that currently, under this administration, facts don't seem to be tested very often. Well, that is to say, things people claim to be facts don't seem to be tested very often. And yet a lot of the assertions of the current administration about LGBTQ people, about trans people, but also more broadly than that, often turn out not to be true, not to be able to be held up in court, and we move on without any real consequence. In the back half of the show, we take a look at the real mixed bag across the world that this kind of attitude creates for us. Good things happen, but also not so good things happen. And to try and connect those two phenomena together. It is a very thick show, and I think we should dive right in. Welcome back.
Thank you. I am so tired.
You were in Indianapolis this weekend.
I was for
just for a small little thing.
It's a small little thing. Gen Con.
You were at Gen Con.
I was at Gen Con. Yeah, there were about maybe about between 75 and 85,000 people.
Wow. It's so funny because like a couple weekends ago was San Diego Comic-Con, and it gets all the press, all the report. Everybody goes there and whatnot. And yet then like a weekend after it, here's Gen Con in Indianapolis.
And it is the largest gaming convention in the world.
That's amazing.
And it was, oh my God, it was over the top. I am sore. I hurt everywhere. I got edema in my legs, which is retaining water and your ankles or wrists swelling, just in case.
Yep.
It is almost but entirely unlike fun.
Yeah.
And oh God, that sucks.
Scary too.
Yeah, because you're like, where did my ankle go?
Yeah. I hate it.
And I'm still walking. I have this, and I'm still walking and still doing what I was there to do, which was work with Kenzer & Company, which is out of Waukegan, Illinois. Awesome game company, and they produce Knights of the Dinner Table comics/game magazine.
Wow.
Which is in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Wow.
So for the most comics done by a single artist and writer.
That's amazing.
Previously, it was the comic Bone, which is an amazing comic. And now it's Knights of the Dinner Table. Bone stopped at like 304. They're now at 324 and still going.
Wow. Yeah, I read Bone.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
Bonus.
Yeah.
It's been a while, but yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
And oh my God, it's like one of the things they do every morning is people talk about it's the running of the geeks, the running of the bulls, and oh my God. So when they open the doors to the vendor halls, everyone who's working the halls gets out of the way because people, they're not running, but they're walking faster than they ever have in their lives. And it's this flood of humanity. They open 5 doors and every one of them is a flood as this horde of humanity comes through.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Oh God, visually, it's just stunning
and terrifying a little bit. It's like being on the other end of a Black Friday sale.
Yes, and you're the vendor. You're going, no. People were selling out of things from various games. They're like, we brought all sorts of stock and it's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not a terrible problem to have. They're like, it is when people are asking about it. I was there for the great Indianapolis tornado warning because it wasn't an actual tornado downtown. It caused flooding in the convention center.
Wow.
So some people, one table of games for sale did get hit, but mostly it was where people were playing demo games, so demo card games and stuff like that.
This is an emerging theme of our summer. Like we go away and do things and then we get flooded out at the end of it.
I was in the Omni Severin Hotel. It was a really nice hotel. The people there were lovely. It flooded on the second floor.
I don't understand that.
Not the first floor. I need to be clear. The first floor did not flood. The second floor flooded. The video I have, water is pooling on the carpet.
Wow.
It encroached to where the room we were gaming was in. And everyone's like, okay, this is terrible. And it's starting to have that smell. but the game must go on. And we kept playing.
Priorities.
Yes, priorities. We're going to keep slinging dice over safety concerns. Oh, what if there's mold? Who cares? We're not dead yet. Yeah. Oh, and there was like a drone show, which I didn't see.
Oh, yeah. That's been circulating on social media. I saw that already.
There was a carnival in the Repertory Theater.
Wow.
There were people doing videos. There were actors there. I saw Joe Manganiello, said hi to him. He is a huge gaming nerd. I saw a couple other people famous for various internet things. It just...
Now, what would you say, as much as you were able to sort of get this, and I know it's perception, what would you say was the amount of queer and trans people that were at Gen Con?
Oh, my God, it was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, like I was there last year, as people remember. And mostly the trans representation was people who fairly easily passed. And there was a sense of foreboding. Mm-hmm. This year, yeah, no one cared. So there were people who were who were very visibly trans and very visibly didn't pass. Like 5 o'clock, hard 5 o'clock shadow, in dresses, no wig. I was like, oh, you are awesome.
We love the gender fluidity.
Oh, yes. It was amazing. There were so many just happy out there queer people. I was handing out comic books, and I'd hand one to someone, get ready to hand to someone else, and goes, oh no, this guy's going, no, my husband has one. You just gave it to him. I'm like, oh, okay. Or so another person was like, oh, my wife has one, and I'm like, okay, and I'm like, that's awesome. Not even blinking, because why would I? And I had another person who was at the booth who was watching me. I don't know why, and was like, oh, hey, it's really awesome to meet you. I didn't know trans people really made it past 20.
God.
And first I had that, I'm so old. Oh, God. And I'm like, what, 57, going to be 58? I'm like, oh, the age. Oh, get my walker.
Yeah, but trans only just happened in the last decade or so. It didn't really exist before then at all.
And I mean, I've known people who transitioned.
It's just a young person thing.
Yeah, I know someone who transitioned in the 50s. Yeah. They're no longer here anymore, but yeah, it's been around for a hot minute.
Pay attention, folks.
Yeah, and it was.
And so, would you say like 10% or?
Yeah, easily 10%.
Yeah, nice.
Easily.
Well represented and visible at Gen Con.
Another shout out to a nonprofit that I really like. There's a group called Tabletop Gamers. They're awesome. I hung out with them last year. I hung out with them a little bit this year because I had to check back in and say, it's awesome, guys. I mean, really amazing representation. Lots of people had pronoun flags attached to their badges, nice. or gamer or ally. I mean, it was a lot, and it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Yeah, I mean, if you're
is it always in Indianapolis?
No, it wasn't always. Initially, it was the reason it's called Gen Con. Mm-hmm. Is it was originally held in Lake Geneva, which is where Gary Gygax lived, where he invented Dungeons and Dragons. So it's Geneva Con.
Got it.
So after a while, it moved to Milwaukee, and it was there for a while, and then it got bought out again because that's how these things go, and they moved it to Indy, and it's been in Indy for over 20 years. Yeah. And next year, I think is the 60th anniversary.
Oh wow!
So of this.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm just like, dude. It was awesome.
Well, I would say that one of the things that kind of stands out to me, the fact of your experience and what you've had now going to Gen Con a couple of times, and the reality of it is standing up. Whereas for a lot of other people, their asserted reality, well, it's like they are playing role-playing games, but they're not. They're trying to call it reality. Here's the connection that I'm trying to make. While you were gone, the big Friday news dump was that reflecting pool in Washington was not vandalism.
What?
It was actually bad design, bad renovation work, and it's the Interior Department's fault, according to Janine Pirro, the Attorney General in Washington, D.C.
Who knew?
Yeah, right?
Like everybody, but who knew?
That's the big one that I think that you missed, because immediately Normally that's a Friday news dump and nobody's supposed to pay attention to it. But everybody's like, wait, you guys spent weeks like attacking and saying it was the Democrats and it was bad vandals and you had evidence and all this kind of stuff.
And arresting an Olympian.
Yeah, I know. And you don't have the evidence to actually pursue this case. Of course, now Trump is saying, yeah, we do. I'm really mad at Ginny for dropping that. Pyrrha was bad. I might have to fire her.
Well, that's literally his only competent thing to do is firing everybody.
Yeah. I have seen more circulating, like it's not like we don't know this, right? But more circulating online about the kind of fact-checking that reporters do on our president and how his response is always, you're a bad reporter, you're a terrible reporter. And it's like, they show up with receipts. He doesn't have them. And it turns out that what he's saying is wrong. And my favorite moment this weekend, though, I think this was, I saw it reported on something else. I believe it was on CNN. Somebody was talking to Senator Scott, who was trying to promote Blanche for Attorney General. And trying to be okay with the thing that he wouldn't, at least at that time, formally move away from. And so the reporter asked, well, would Hearn, the Olympian who got arrested, but apparently inappropriately for this damage, this vandalism to the pool, would he be eligible for applying for this slush fund since he was a victim of lawfare? And Scott, I don't know. I tried to turn around, and it was a legitimate question, right? To sort of like go, well, if you set up this slush fund, is it just for January 6th people, or is it really anybody who's been falsely accused, falsely arrested, and falsely harassed by the Justice Department?
Trans people should apply.
I know.
Trans people must apply.
Should totally apply.
I'd be like, look, you've been giving us grief. We'd like to apply for our slush fund now.
Yeah, exactly. And that story itself, I don't want it to go away. And look, it's connection. We're going to try and make some connections here to LGBTQ folks as well. Well done, by the way. Absolutely. I think that's something that trans folks, by the way, trans folks have been having some success. Trans and queer folks have been having some success with pushback against the government.
Oh, yeah.
We flipped in two stories. One, of course, is the Pentagon having to cave to LGBTQ folks, kind of pushing back against their attempts to erase and attempts to get rid of them, and kind of suing and pushing the Pentagon. And Hegseth finally, okay, fine, we'll admit you exist. But my favorite one is federal workers who had their health insurance cut because they are trans, are successfully suing the federal government about the inappropriate treatment of them. And
see, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the issues authoritarians have. If the ground is not well prepared, it doesn't go smoothly.
No.
And for all that the Republicans have been shoving terrible judges down our throats, even the Trump appointees are just like, where are the facts?
Yeah.
Where's the actual data? You're saying someone did this as vandalism, like with the reflecting pool, and they're like, we have nothing but feelings. And they're like, your feelings don't matter in court. It's court.
As Todd Blanche has advanced now, he's out of committee, and barely. There was a nice holdup on that as well, right? Some folks were like, you can't go forward unless you do something more than just say that you're not going to do this slush fund thing, and there's limitations on the immunity that you're going to give to Trump and his family for tax
for the
audits,
credit card fraud?
Yeah, all of that kind of stuff. So they did actually provide, finally, after a lot of pressure, a document, a paper. It was written down. It's not an official document. It can actually be backed up on. We'll see. We'll see if Blanche goes forward. But here's the thing that strikes me as kind of amazing. Somebody did some research and pointed out that this is the first time in forever that somebody has advanced a candidate for Attorney General of the Department of Justice who is currently under investigation for presenting false information in court.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that automatically would shut out anybody in a bipartisan way anywhere else. But right now, we have to push him forward.
Let's say Blanche gets disbarred.
Yeah.
Can he still be Attorney General? Because he's no longer legally allowed to practice law.
Yeah. Is there anything in our administration and our Constitution that says that the Attorney General has to actually be an able to operate attorney?
I don't know. The only thing I think I'm kind of interested and positive about this is they are stress testing parts of our government that have never really been stress tested. So we're finding out weaknesses in certain laws and weaknesses in certain things we thought were absolutely sure to stop terrible people from being absolutely terrible. And I'm like, okay, that's helpful if we act on it.
Yeah.
But if we don't act on it, then we suffered for nothing.
Yeah. I am struck by the hypocrisy too, right? So there's the facts part, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna assert things. And I have another one that's really big in the last week too that I just think is insane. But we're going to assert these things, and at the same time we're going to do them, right? Here's two examples from our president right now.
Oh yeah.
Our president is now very much, because of the SAVE Act, against mail-in voting, and mail-in voting is wrong, and you can't have mail-in voting, except our president votes by mail.
Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm. Our president is supportive of his party, particular members of his party especially, being very anti-vaccine and very attacking Dr. Fauci. That was a thing that happened last week too. Attacking Dr. Fauci for his role in COVID and in creating a deadly, awful thing that hit America. Not a lot of evidence to support that. It's all conspiracy theory. Our president, by the way, for all of his assaults on vaccines, takes the booster vaccines, is responsible for Project Warp Speed to try and advance the vaccines as fast as possible. We should never forget that our president was actually involved in all of that and continues to actually engage in taking those vaccines to, at least on that part of his health.
Well, our Secretary of Health and Human Services doesn't partake in them because I guess he believes I've eaten whales, so clearly I'll be fine.
It's the mind worm.
Yeah, it's the mind worm.
He doesn't want to.
But
it's where he thinks.
He keeps pushing back on things like, well, you're the biggest anti-vaxxer in the administration, and we've had the worst measles outbreak in decades.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it's Biden's fault. It's for the shutdown. It's like the COVID lockdown in 2020 is responsible for something happening 2025, 26.
He said to a reporter on TV who was asking him about the Fauci investigation and the COVID stuff, actually reporting and sharing the data, the facts about COVID and whatnot. And RFK Jr.'s response was, well, you've obviously been misled by popular information. You're no scientist. To which the reporter replied, well, neither are you.
It's just so nice when some of these people get
and then they got really
punched in the face.
Feisty back and forth with each other because he's very much against, he joins in trying to support Rand Paul's attacks on Fauci. That was, by the way, of course, right now, folks are saying that on the right are saying that because Fauci pleaded the fifth, that's an admission of guilt.
No, that's an admission of I'm not saying anything.
Let's remember that we have a president right now who
has pled the fifth multiple
over
times.
400 times in one particular court case alone.
Yeah.
So if as our senator from the neighboring state likes to say, that's an admission of guilt.
Then we have admissions of guilt from.
What are you saying about your president then?
Yeah. I mean, if it's good for the goose, it must be good for the gander.
Yeah. The Biden administration, of course, recognized on the way out the door the continued attempts and assaults on both COVID and COVID policy and Dr. Fauci, and gave him a pardon, including pretty much a pardon for anything.
Kind of a blanket one.
Yeah, 2014 moving forward. It's one of those, it's a blanket pardon and a pardon that moves forward. The reason why he was called forth to testify is since they can't hold him accountable for the lack of evidence that they have about anything that he's done bad in the past. and sure, there may be some questions about our COVID policy at the time, but we're also dealing with a crisis. And yes, in anything, think about the Iran war right now, we make mistakes sometimes, and we try to fix them.
Is it a war again?
It's a war again, apparently.
Oh, and I mean, I blink.
We're in talks, but we're not in talks. It's ending. It's not ending. All of that stuff.
So again, it's the war is real and not real at the same time.
Yeah.
Nice.
But the point on Fauci is he pleads the fifth, not as an admission of guilt, but because the only thing that Republicans could potentially hold him accountable for, and they're already announced, especially Rand Paul's announced intention to get him behind bars, is if they can get him to perjure himself. So,
so he's just, on advice of my lawyer, I plead the fifth.
I'm not giving you any evidence for that.
And he just keeps saying that in the same way. But he's clearly, what I loved is the video I saw is he's engaged with the questions. He's like,
And so what do? They refuse to actually let his lawyer ever speak, and in fact have him escorted out to keep him alone to try and see if maybe they can get him to break. And he doesn't, because the man's a scientist and a doctor, and he had his diary, his unredacted diary released by Rand Paul. Now that's some low stuff. And their primary argument about that is, look, he knew about the media and he cared about the media and how he was being reported. And I'm like, the man has decades of working in public health, and he understands how public opinion impacts public health policy. So yes, he does pay attention to the media.
Oh my goodness. It's almost like you study communications or something.
Mm-hmm. You think the president worries about the media? Because he's on social media all the time.
He does worry about the media, because if they're not on him and reporting everything he does, it's clearly bad.
Yeah. So that was an embarrassment of and clearly a political agenda interrogation of our former
public servant,
award-winning. Remember, by the way, Fauci was not just associated with COVID. He's been associated with a lot of diseases, outbreaks, probably most famously taking seriously HIV/AIDS in the 80s and going into the 90s. And yes, ACT UP and other organizations were not very happy with how he dealt with it. But the story there is so beautiful to me because he actually interviewed, talked to, and listened to people who were upset with the way that drug testing was being done and drugs were being made available for HIV/AIDS, and adjusted policy based on the information that he got from talking with the activists. So while we can point to a place where he was challenged by HIV plus activists, you can also point to the place where he actually listened and accommodated and changed policy in relationship to that activism. And that is a very powerful and important story in our history.
Well, think about the hundreds of thousands of people, maybe even millions, that Dr. Fauci has saved through his work and his decisions on public health policy, especially with these various massive health issues. He's done nothing but help people stay alive, and not just in this country.
Yeah. So we had a public hearing, if you will, in as much as you could hear it, in the Senate, that was very clearly a political maneuver, a campaign maneuver kind of going into the midterms to mobilize people who have bought into this conspiracy theory about Dr. Fauci. And I, for one, don't think it worked. I think that one of the things that it did was show them as desperate. They became so petulant and mean.
They were asking things like, what is 2 + 2?
Yeah.
And he goes, under the advice of my attorney. I'm like, ooh, you're turning this nicely.
You're going to hold him in contempt. I have heard that Florida and I think another state, because the states they're not held back by the pardon, are in launching investigations. And here's the thing. Do it. Go ahead, launch your investigation. You got to bring that evidence and information forward. You're going to run into the same problem everybody has who tries to perpetuate this conspiracy theory, which is when you actually test the evidence of your claim against the actual evidence that we have, it does not stand up. So that's why conspiracy theories work in public opinion and popular opinion, especially around elections. They do not hold up when you try to take them to court. Even if it's a Trump-appointed judge, they tend to be very, they may take the information, but they have to weigh it against the other information, and it doesn't stand up. So Florida, knock yourself out. Spend your taxpayer dollars running after a frivolous investigation against something that's moved on, against an 85-year-old man who has a history, an award-winning, so many awards, winning history of public service and doing really important good work.
And when you just look at all this, it's, this is what we say reality is. Mm-hmm. And reality just keeps saying, no.
Yeah.
Because, the world is what it is.
Yeah. We flipped in another story just to sort of back this up, right? That in order to support your argument, you'll say anything, right? And so one of the most popular kind of transphobic positions against gender-affirming care for trans youth has been that puberty blockers are bad. They're bad, right? You shouldn't take puberty blockers, even though cis kids take them.
So it's bad for trans kids, but it's okay for cis kids.
Yeah, it's a reasonable risk for the cis kids, I guess. Bad for trans kids. The claim has always been that puberty blockers cause persistent lack of bone distance or loss of bone density, and just a kind of assertion. And there is some evidence that there is a impact in bone density and development. What our recent studies have indicated, though, is it is not persistent. It actually goes away when they come off the puberty blockers, and nobody, including the trans kids, are on puberty blockers forever.
No,
it is a short-term treatment to help somebody deal with their gender dysphoria while they are going through puberty.
It's a pause button, not a stop.
It's not a stop. And so this claim, and so the evidence is in now. Now, somebody else, look, if you really believe that that's not the case, here's what you have to do.
Do an actual scientific
study. You have to do some studies. You actually have to collect data. You have to be willing to bring the data. You have to be part of the peer review process and not just get some new journal that's only going to peer review in a way that supports your evidence. So many assertions are made about the dangerousness of the medications and treatments for transgender folks and particularly trans youth, right? Because we've got to be worried about the youth. We can't possibly do this. Always on here, we're quick to say, like, this thing that you're opposing the trans youth to is done by cis kids for other reasons. Oh, you can't possibly have a gender-affirming surgery when you're a young child. And it's like,
it happens all the time.
Gynecomastia. When boys start forming breasts, you don't want them to have to suffer the ridicule that they may face and the anxiety it causes them. So here's a simple operation that helps them.
Well, I mean, remember, puberty blockers, if like an 8 or 9-year-old starts developing breasts, that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, if that's happening, that is actually physiologically bad for the child. Yeah. So you put them on puberty blockers, you wait till it's actually closer to the window where it should be happening, and there you go. Mm-hmm. Because nobody needs to have puberty come too early for you or puberty drive over things. I mean, there's a lot of older trans people who are just, it's envy of trans youth. You're like, wow, what could have my life have been if this was an opportunity I had had? Yeah, that would have been amazing.
Yeah. Well, this is the thesis of at least the first half of the show has been that these facts, these assertions of facts, actually require some backing. And more often than not, the assertion of facts, whether it is a charge about the reflecting pool and it being caused by vandalism is the real cause, you got to support that, and they couldn't. Vaccines and how we handled COVID and whether there's one person who's guilty for it, no, you got to make the case. And if he won't answer your questions, that's not evidence of guilt. That's evidence of a witch hunt and him not being willing to play in your game for political advance.
An actual witch hunt, not a President Trump witch hunt.
What? If you really care about that, instead of hunting after Dr. Fauci, why don't you actually go to court and make the case for the conspiracy that you say really happened and bring your evidence? And if you got it and it stands up, good on you. You made a case. But if it doesn't, as it hasn't, as it most likely probably won't, you don't have a case. And so you can assert facts all you want on the Senate floor. You can make speeches to social networks as much as you want, but when we actually test the information, it's not true. And we have a president who is famous for documented lying, whether it's about the massive way that he won the 2024 election better than any Republican ever, except don't look at George H.W. Bush. Don't look at any other president before that. You can actually find the data that contradicts him, but if you bring that up to him, then you're just a bad reporter. You're an awful reporter. You NBC reporters are so bad.
Sure.
And we have the data. Like, we can actually show you from his first administration the over 35,000 documented lies that his administration made.
And that was just in the first week.
Yeah.
Okay. That could be hyperbole.
Yeah, it could be a little bit. But it's yeah. So, facts. You can assert them all you want to for your agenda, for your bigotry, for your political advance. They will be tested, and you will be shown. Now, here's my question, of course, always for the reflecting pool one is, will there be consequences for this? Probably not.
Well, there might be for the algae.
For the algae, maybe, but we'll probably move on. And I really hope that our Olympian, canoeist, kayaker, whatever, Heron, I hope he does follow through on some suits, because they've been playing out really well. We're going to come back in the back half of the show with the mixed bag story of when we don't have complete factual information, how things go left, go right, go forward, go backward, go good, go bad. And we just sort of live in this country of constantly having to twist your head to see which direction we're headed. You are listening to Isn't It Queer on WDBX FM 91.1, community radio serving the Southern Illinois region. We're going to take a quick minute to listen to one of our station's underwriters, and we'll be right back after this message.
Support for community radio on WDBX comes from the Carbondale Times newspaper, serving the community with news, sports, entertainment, and all things Carbondale since 1997. Pick up a copy of the Times each Friday for civic news, information on who's playing the Strip this weekend, an extensive list of upcoming community events, and all the latest on Carbondale Terrier and Saluki athletics. Best of all, it's free. And to keep up with the Times anytime, visit us online at carbondaletimes.com or look us up on Facebook. Want even more information? Give us a call at 549-2799. Thanks for reading, and remember, together we are Carbondale.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Well, so in the first half of the show, we talked to you a little bit about the struggle over facts and peer reviews, and a lot of what we were referencing in there implied things like studies and investigations. And of course, a lot of that we rely on things like the academy, academia, places where folks do research.
Yeah, and this administration has gone after any research. Not if it has anything that has the word trans, like I guess maybe if you're studying transistors or transport, or if it's got the word, they get a little twitchy.
If trans shows up in anything, whether it's transgenic or transit or whatnot, it must be transgender.
Yeah, those transgenic mice, they are. Slay, queen.
Oh my goodness. So one of the places where I think that the evidence of that is really interesting to me is a European study recently looked across the world and tried to measure things like academic freedom. And we flipped this story, and if you're interested in seeing some of the data on it, it's actually very, very interesting to me.
It's really fascinating, because some countries shut down their academic freedom, and others just say, hey, go for it.
Yeah.
And that's actually kind of a big deal.
Yeah. They measure it, the VDM study measures it, this is from 2025, so measures it on a kind of percentage scale. But right now, the U.S. is at 40%.
Yeah, that tracks.
We are now at a level similar to Bhutan and Thailand.
Bhutan?
Yeah.
Which is interesting because Bhutan is where the happiness thing is from.
Yeah, well,
that's interesting.
How do you keep the happiness? I don't know. Yeah, actually, the one that surprised me is the highest is Chechnya, 98%.
What?
I know, right? Now, Russia is like 18%. Like they're really low. And
they're as high as 18?
As high as 18, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's pretty. China is 7%.
Yeah, that tracks. That tracks.
South Sudan is 5%.
Okay. Well, yeah.
So what I think what really also amazes me is like Brazil, Chile, Uruguay, much of South America is over 50%. Like these are places that are at 85, 92, 91.
Those are some lovely countries.
There's places like Nicaragua and Ecuador. Well, Nicaragua is 2%. Ecuador is 43%. Cuba is 8%. So I guess that justifies, invading. Venezuela is 13%. Now, I don't know if that's before or after we took over their oil, but yeah.
Well, okay, to be fair, the Maduro government wasn't nice to many people. Yeah. So that tracks.
And let's understand, the academic freedom analysis that they're doing here is, do you have the freedom to, first of all, investigate the things that you investigate, or are you controlled by grants, by government, by law about the things you can and cannot investigate? So when you lose your grants, federal grants, to do any study that has anything to do with LGBTQ people, that's an assault on academic freedom.
Yeah.
Do you have the freedom to challenge, to do independent verification, to investigate sources that have been argued and then test those facts against other studies? And again, go through a rigorous peer review academic freedom practice of investigating things to try and find things out. Well, we have seen under the Trump administration that the academic freedom in the U.S. dropped precipitously, thanks in part to DOGE initially, and then their continued withholding of grants and money from particular colleges and challenging particular universities around these questions. It's not pretty, and it's had impacts, I think, on exactly the stuff that we were talking about in the first half of the show.
Well,
we want to have facts not have to be something that you prove.
If you're a student and you're like, this really sounds interesting, you have to get it approved.
Yeah.
And if they run it up and they're like, I'm sorry, you can't, this whole thing that interests you and really engages you and makes you want to study this topic, no, you can't do it. And that's not a good thing for the student. That's not a good thing for the academic community, because you want people to ask interesting and engaging questions that drive them and the science forward.
This is primarily about, it's about where universities and academics are most free from state and institutional interference. So if your institution says you can't study that, if your government says that any investigation into LGBTQ experience is participating in gay propaganda, and that's against the law against gay propaganda, then that would be an example of a loss of academic freedom. If it's telling you can't study this, you can't study the impacts of carbon emissions on global warming because we don't believe in it and it's bad for the industry, then that's an impact on that. What it doesn't include, and what I think we could also point to as being should be included in this but isn't, is when you start, not necessarily at a level of academic inquiry, but at a level of what you're allowed to teach. So that would even go to things like public schools and whatnot. If you're not allowed to have certain books in the library because we don't acknowledge that trans people exist or that a dinosaur could have been a rainbow, I don't know.
Like some of these things go to places where the data is actually really interesting and opens up a lot of fascinating questions, like homosexual behavior in animals. Mm-hmm. If that exists, which it does, and you're able to study it, it kind of makes you able to extrapolate to more animals, and you can test more. And technically, human beings are animals. I think that assertion can be made and has been made. And there's some proof.
Yeah. By the way,
yes,
just as a kind of add to this, right? We're at 40%. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That from 2015 to 2025. That is a drop of 57% of where we used to be.
My Lord. So we were at 97? Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I'm reading this right. Yeah.
That's only happened in
10 years. 10 years, out of which 8 of them, well, not quite 8.
Yeah, but there was a significant percentage of
Trump in control.
Trump in control, yeah.
And I would not be surprised if we found out that the majority of that drop was in that last year. It is brutal to me, and I certainly have seen it happening in the academy as I have been a part of it. And that's brutal to me. The mixed bag for me is this is one little data point that sort of points to why we might be having these wars on what is fact and what isn't fact. Europe, of course, for the most part, Western Europe, for the most part, is very blue, is very, in this map, blue just simply means above 50% in terms of academic freedom. Yeah. And they're very dark blue. They tend to be up in like the 90s and so forth, as you might expect of England. If you map this, right, like if you look at our lack of academic freedom, West Africa looks pretty red. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we're seeing a spread in West African countries of anti-LGBTQ laws.
That does track with some of the social norms.
And for a while now, we've actually been able to sort of, through various international pressures, try to keep places like Uganda and elsewhere from pushing forward. Ghana, I think, is a really good example of part of the problem. Like once they have recently had anti-LGBTQ legislation. Mm-hmm. And their parliament right now is getting ready to redo their anti-LGBTQ legislation. To repeal it because it was abusive, to modify it or gentle it because it was really a little bit, they went too far. No. The opposite. They are pushing for it to be even more aggressive than it was before against LGBTQ people. And so I think this spread, and we talked about this before, where the spread of anti-LGBTQ legislation in many African nations is primarily coming from Western, often Christian nationalist influence.
Yeah. A lot of very anti-LGBTQ people would send missionaries to these countries and really try to push if you don't go after them, you're going against God. And if you're a believer, why would you want to go against God?
Yeah.
I mean, that just makes sense. But again, it's lies being told about the Bible this time.
Yeah. And control through isolating your scapegoats and the people that you can focus people's attention on rather than, I don't know, how the money's being spent, who's benefiting in the government.
Are basic needs being met?
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would like to say that Europe is doing better. Now, I am happy about the Amsterdam Pride Parade with the blow-up Putin and Ronald Reagan kissing each other.
No, it wasn't Ronnie.
No. Yeah. Trump.
It was Trump in a dress with a tulip behind his back. Oh, it's so sweet.
Yeah, I'm wearing a dress and hilarious.
And just leaning into smooch Vladdy.
Little not little, big blow-up dolls who you just know as they were moving through the parade and whatnot.
Would occasionally
kind of bumping into each other. Face to face. Love that. Feel like that's the kind of progressive acknowledgement of the unfortunate alliance between our president and
Europe goes hard for some of those things. It's awesome.
On the other hand, the European Union, we're noticing right now in response to some immigrants, is deporting and returning home queer Pakistanis. And even though as they get back to their country, they are being arrested, thrown in jail, and otherwise abused by their country because they are out queer people, which is why they were seeking asylum and why they were getting away, the European Union continues in a policy of deportation and return to their native lands. At least they're not sending them to other countries, which maybe they would prefer.
It's like, you don't even know the language or anything? That's fine. It's like, we're going to take some Pakistani people and we're going to send them to Micronesia.
Right.
Because clearly you have strong roots in Micronesia.
That's the USA way. And maybe they're like, look, we're sending them back to where they came from. And you're like, yeah, but they were leaving where they came from for a reason. I think this is actually evidence of why it was dangerous for them that supports the idea of asylum.
Not evidence.
Yeah, I can't have that evidence. And maybe we'll see. Maybe this will be the thing where they finally go, hey, you're right. This is bad. We don't want this. This is not who we are. We have to figure out something else. Maybe it's not, asylum. Maybe it's not letting them in, but maybe it's something better than sending them back to the country that is persecuting them that they were running from to begin with.
I saw a news story about this couple who were deported from the United States with their young daughter back to El Salvador. They had been fleeing from various forms of oppression, and the two adults were found in a cornfield, and the daughter was nearby crying. And to me, that's the picture of this administration in a nutshell, because facts, truth, that people are under threat doesn't have any impact because they have no empathy.
Yeah. If we bring it to our own country, back to our own country here, I think sometimes we get caught up in the idea of left versus right, liberal versus conservative, and that's not entirely wrong. We do also have to notice that our Republican Party right now, our conservative party, if you will, is not the same as it was in the past. It has used to have actually a collection of different kinds of ideological positions, a spectrum of conservatism, if you will, from a little bit more liberal or centrist to a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more based on economy, a little bit more based on religious beliefs, whatever. That diversity seems to, if not gone away, has been subsumed under a particular singular push that is willing to support and problematically ignore impacts to them. So the stuff that we've been sort of putting on the Trump administration, we acknowledge he's able to do because of the support that he has from an entire party that is not willing to challenge him.
And the Republican Party now is not the Republican Party when he had his first term.
Right.
He has continually shoved them right. It's not that he pushed them or no, it's been shoved.
Yeah. By making promises that he is not keeping to MAGA, and that many of the Make America Great Again coalition is starting finally to push back, but not all of them. And they're still trying to cling to power and maybe try to make the midterms go away. We don't know. I would like to say that the Democrats are unified in their pushback, but as we're recording this, it's Tuesday, which is another primary day in Kansas, Michigan, Missouri, Virginia, and Washington. And the big play out right now, of course, among the Democrats is sort of democratic socialism or very progressive Democrats seem to be winning some of these primary wins against more
very exciting,
centrists.
Actually, because the centrists have taken us nowhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here because they haven't pushed back hard enough against this the Overton window being shoved right.
Yeah, and this belief that playing by the rules and being moderate and that kind of thing is going to help you has been. They continue to run it, and then they're freaked out by our New York mayor because he continues to show how successful it can be to do something different. There is a run actually for the Senate seat in Michigan. It's actually 2 people of color.
Nice.
So we have Stevens, who is running for the Senate and is much more the centrist. And then you have El Said, who is running for the Democratic nomination for the Senate seat there. They'll run up against a Republican who's
El
the
Said's
incumbent.
a doctor, right?
He is a doctor, and he is very progressive, and he wants universal health care, Medicare for all, supports those kinds of things. And he is much more the sort of far left liberal. And to see them kind of turn on each other has been just a little bit creepy.
Well, to be fair, the Democratic Party has spent money to try and go against Mamdani and all these other people.
Stevens has way more money.
Oh, yeah, because the centrists still want their version. And again, we're running into facts versus beliefs.
Yes.
And they believe in their version of democracy as opposed to other people who are like, no, we should be able to have a voice too. And so these centrists, who are many times have very heavy academic backgrounds, are getting countered by people who are like, we think actual people, regular people, should be taken care of by the government.
Here's the one that I think is a little bit closer to home for us, and a little bit more exciting in some ways because it's a comeback, and I kind of like it. Cori Bush, who was voted out of the House of Representatives from the sort of St. Louis district in Missouri, is running again in the Democratic primary to try and be the Democratic candidate in what probably will be a Democratic representative, given even with their redistricting in Missouri, given the way that works. Running against Wesley Beth, representative, who has been much more a centrist, is supported by Jeffries, is supported by the mainstream Democrats, and they're over against Cori Bush. Their big difference, their big one that they're fighting on is Beth has been insistent on supporting and constantly voting for the military support for Israel, even in the wake of some problematic practices by the current Israeli administration. Cori Bush has been very clear that we do not support war crimes, and in fact we hold even our allies accountable for war crimes. So the argument that they're having is Representative Beth is saying we have to recognize that Israel exists. And Bush is saying, Cori Bush is saying, we have to hold people accountable when they're abusing military practices and committing war crimes.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not an argument that Israel exists.
Exactly.
I just think, personally, I think we should not be providing the defense budget for a foreign country. I don't care what country. They could be our absolute besties. Our money should go to our needs. And completely funding someone's defense budget is not one of our needs.
Yeah.
That money could provide universal health care, make sure kids have food. And the list is nearly endless. And yet people will be like, but if you don't give Israel their defense budget, we're not defending Israel. And I'm like, there's other ways to do it. Come on.
Not so much showing off against each other, but also showing what I think is that spectrum of difference on the left that I think is worth putting next to each other this week and this last week, is the Ohio Democratic gubernatorial candidate, Amy Acton. Yeah, kind of a problem. And then the Senate candidate, Democratic Senate candidate in Texas, James Tellerico. Okay? So first of all, Amy Acton, as we've reported before, is not a friend of Dorothy as far as trans rights are considered.
Yeah.
She likes calling trans girls and trans women, or trans girls in athletics, boys.
Yeah, that's very inaccurate.
Yeah. She tried to hold a meeting to sort of address these concerns. As I understand it, didn't show up to it.
Yeah, people showed up.
She didn't.
And she didn't. And then they tried to do arrests and stuff. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, and I understand that at least one LGBTQ organization has dropped their endorsement. They have dropped their rating of her as a pro-LGBTQ person because of the stance that she's taking on trans rights, her unwillingness to sort of address or speak to them, her willingness to kind of mark them out. And so in some ways she has been, and the Democrats have been trying very hard not to let this news take the headlines.
But it is.
It is, and people are noticing. And so what would be the better answer? Well, you could look to Texas. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
When for an LGBTQ issue have we ever been able to say that before?
Brace yourself.
James Tellerico was on the Rachel Maddow show, and Rachel Maddow, surprise, surprise, was willing to ask the hard question, which is, you're running for the Senate in Texas. Is your support of trans folks a liability for your election possibility in Texas? Now, before we look at the polling numbers, which are actually doing pretty good for Tellerico,
yeah.
because Paxton isn't doing so well down there, he asserts on the Maddow show on MS Now that we won't win by selling people out, and that he is not changing his position on trans rights. And in fact, he is running to be the senator of Texas for all of Texas, all the people in Texas, which includes trans Texans.
That's amazing.
And
gosh, that goes along with stuff we've said over and over and over on this show.
Yeah, and I don't know if he can win in Texas because, oh my God, Texas. But at the same time, he is polling really well. He's given them a run for their money, and I think he's taking positions like this that I hope will increasingly become a kind of model for the Democratic Party in terms of being, we don't throw people under the bus, we don't mock people who are a part of the tent. If we're going to have this big tent, then the tent isn't about, like, I don't know, you can't be in here. The tent is about, are you dissing on people who are in here? And trans folks, for the most part, aren't dissing on you unless you try to take away their rights and their access to basic needs and health care.
And remember, Paxton is not even popular in his own party.
Yeah.
His own party has gone after him. Yeah. And he's still hanging on. Yeah, so, I mean, this is going to be an interesting race. Tellerico has a really, really strong chance.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I'm really hoping.
Me too. We don't have anything happening in Illinois in terms of an election right now, but I wanted to acknowledge some good things, but then also you on your trip back, some problematic things that we're struggling with here in Illinois as well as across the country. In Illinois, for example, we just had a rating come out of the top 10 hospitals in America, and 2 of them are in Illinois. Admittedly, Northern Illinois, Chicago area.
But still, Illinois pride.
Right, exactly. And so, our healthcare is doing pretty well here in terms of that. Now, I will say that I think that the availability of hospitals and access to healthcare in the rural portions of the state, like we're down here in Southern Illinois, is not so good, and at the same time not so good because of Republican policy and the cuts to health care and so forth. And so I believe that's going to be an impact in elections.
Honestly,
even down here.
Hold your politicians accountable for, are they helping you keep hospitals?
Yeah.
Because remember, hospitals are for everybody, not just Democrats.
Yeah. Another positive note for Illinois. In Illinois right now, as we're getting ready to head back to school, oh my God, where did the summer go? Now is a really good time to start buying your school supplies because Illinois has a hold on sales tax, state sales tax for school supplies during the back-to-school period.
Nice.
Pushing education, recognizing the affordability issues. Thank you, Governor Pritzker.
I may have to get more of those yellow pads that my wife keeps yelling at me for having like a ream of them because every story gets a yellow pad.
Yeah. As long as you're using them and having a ream.
Of course I'm using them.
So there you go. I think it's good. The place where we're having hesitations, though, in Illinois is these flock cameras are showing up everywhere, even though they're starting to get criticized across the country.
They're around the university, and they're at the entrance, both on both sides of 13 in town. It's like, what's going on? Like, I freaked out a little when I noticed them coming back in because I didn't notice them going out. Granted, I may have been tired because, not enough coffee. But still, I'm coming in, it's dark, and I'm seeing flock cameras because they look pretty distinctive. And no, I don't want flock cameras here.
Yeah, it's definitely a sign of a surveillance state. And of course, look, you might say, hey, security cameras everywhere. They have them all over Europe and whatnot. One thing, but new technologies, especially facilitated by artificial intelligence, allow an incredible amount of data to be processed and for them to monitor your movements, where you are.
Usually in, data centers. Mm-hmm. And remember, they have tracked someone from California to like Indiana through flock cameras. Texas brought a case against someone for getting an abortion in another state because of flock cameras tracking them. Why would any of us want this? Because your regular movements, whether they're illegal or not, are being tracked and stored for later use.
It's normalizing it here. It has been really under criticism across the country lately as more people become aware of it. I thought that Illinois might actually be leading in terms of resisting and taking away, because they're pulling them down in places like California and whatnot, because I think they are being somewhat abused. There may be a use for surveillance cameras. Of course, there are in different places. But this is a very different thing that's being imposed on us very quickly without a lot of oversight. And I think we're not thinking through the consequences. And for those of you who like to hook up outside, I'm not judging. I'm just saying learn how to recognize what a flock camera is and if it's in your favorite hookup spot. Just saying. This is our mixed bag. This is our mixed bag globally. This is our mixed bag nationally. This is our mixed bag locally. We live in a world that is full of the positive and full of the negative. It's full of things that seem to contradict each other in terms of behaviors and practices. That is also the world where we measure and try to understand the facts that we assert and to hold them up to tests, because it is so easy for us to go in multiple directions, including contradictory ones, if we aren't willing to test our premises, test our assertions, and be held accountable, especially when we push something as an absolute fact that isn't.
Oh, yeah. Lies aren't helpful. Mm-hmm. So making up reality doesn't always work, because reality always wins.
Yeah. Oh, when the data doesn't serve our ends, we just ignore the data, and that's how we get. And I think this mixed bag mess that we are in, and I would say right now the data is actually pretty supportive, Democrats, of not throwing trans and queer people under the bus as you try to have your big tent move forward. I think the data is actually getting increasingly supportive that a democratic socialism is not the anchor, the thing that pulls you down as much as it was in the past. And in response to our current conditions and how we got here, is starting to look more and more like something we should consider doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that, I think, would be good for LGBTQ people. And on that note, you have been listening to Isn't It Queer on WDBX 91.1, community radio serving the Southern Illinois region. This has been Jonny.
And Heather.
Think Again, Please is coming up next, and we will see you again next week on the radio.